Losing You, Gaining Yourself. This is our first episode of our new writer series, and I am starting our writer series with one of my favorite authors, Olivia Gaines. She's an author of a number of romance novels. I liked her so much, her books that I've read, so much that I traveled on a Greyhound bus for 12 hours to go meet her in Tennessee at a writer's conference. And man, was I rewarded. We hit it off. We became great friends. She's been my mentor. And through her, I've met a lot of other wonderful authors. Welcome, Olivia. I just want to jump right into the interview with a question.
Okay.
Olivia, the first thing I want to know is, when did you start writing? What really got you going? Why did you get into being an author? Because you weren't always an author.
No. I've always been a writer. I'm a journalist by trade. I was a journalist for many years in the Army as well. Wrote for my high school paper, my college paper, Army Times, a couple other military publications, magazines, some websites. And then I became a wife, mom, worked for the university, taught at the university, all of that good stuff. And then I decided to take a break. And I took a leave of absence in 2013, and I really hadn't been back to work yet.
Oh, okay. Well, you just went to another kind of work.
Another kind of work.
Well, that's awesome. Now let's talk about the type of books that you that you are into, like reading, the types of books, the genres that you like to read yourself, and the things that you write.
I like to read romantic suspense, but I don't know how to write it.
Okay.
I do know to tell a story about a man and a woman falling in love. So that's what I write. I write what I know.
Okay.
I know how to fall in love.
Aww.
and some of the things that I'm writing right now, I'm hoping that I can help you feel it.
Yeah.
Because I think what a lot of people miss in the equation is being yourself. We're so busy trying to create this person that you think they want, that you end up creating a false sense of yourself. You end up creating this artificial character, and then a year or two in the relationship, you find yourself resenting this person because you're not happy, and you're not happy because you're not yourself, and you're carrying on this facade to make this person happy, and you're just making yourself miserable. But if you start out and go, hey, I like to wear my pajamas twice a week. I eat popcorn and beer for dinner. I cook sometimes, and that's about all you're going to get.
Okay.
It's like, okay then. And then you've got a nice, even playing field to start with.
Right. Know? That's true, because you find out the opposite way about him, You get together and you find out there's these things he does, and if he puts on a facade and you stuck with this person, you're like, oh, you weren't like this when we were dating.
Yes. And had I known you were this nasty.
Okay.
And then I also believe that women, when you actually see the real him, it disappoints you.
Yeah.
To the point you don't recover. And to me, a real woman, when you see that real man, how you react to him, and he's probably going to do something immature, something childish, something irresponsible, and if you start chastising him like you're his mother, and that's how the relationship shifts.
Right.
And then it becomes this little boy that you saw doing something stupid versus being the man that had a moment of humanity,
Right.
And if you let him be human and be full of errors and full of mistakes, and you're like, you know what, you're an idiot, but you're mine, and it's okay.
That's true. That is so true. Olivia, you work on a lot of projects simultaneously, and right now you're working on something a little different, and it's got a lot of humor to it. Not that your stories don't, all of your stories have a lot of humor to it, which I love about your books, and which is why you became my favorite author. But let's talk about your latest work.
I'm working on something now I think readers are going to really, really love. I've read books where there are 100,000 words, and yeah, you can get the story done in 100,000 words, but I want to break it up.
Okay.
I want to break it up and really make a saga, and let you take a break from it.
Okay.
Let it marinate. Let you think about them, and then come back and pick up at another point in their life as they're building this relationship. It's going to be absolutely awesome, and I'm really liking Scott a whole lot.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm really
Excellent.
liking Scott. I know you don't like the name Zelda, but I think you're going to like Zelda. You really are, because I'm kind of role reversing a little bit with him and her.
Okay.
And he's a different kind of a man.
Yeah, and it's funny you bring that up because I mean, that kind of blew my mind. It was funny because I was reading it and I was like in the real world with this guy, and then I was like, wait a second, is she really saying a ventriloquist? So there's like, I kind of had this feeling of a whole nother person in that scene because he was throwing his voice. So I like that kind of playing it was doing with my head.
And that's the thing. And he's doing some things with her head, not in a game playing kind of way.
Right.
It's that I need for you to see the man inside of me, not the man out here.
Right.
And he keeps giving her glimpses of who he is.
Okay.
And they have like a hot night, a hot morning, and she's in the tub, and he knocks on the door, and he walks in the room, and he brings her morning coffee. He says, "May I?" And he sits down on the side of the tub, and he said, "I would love to see you again." She's going to tell me she's going to call, and then she's not going to call. I'll probably never hear from her again. I'll never see her again. And he's got all of these things going through his head, and she's seeing all of this, and she completely just kind of flips the script on him. And I think you're really going to like it.
Okay.
And Scott is not attractive.
Yeah.
He's not attractive at all. And he's hairy.
Yeah.
I mean, like, the question that she said, "What are you, an Italian Yeti?" I mean, that kind of hairy.
Exactly.
And he's like, I know, right? And he's like, "Oh, hey."
So what do I do with that, right?
Right. He doesn't really know what to make of her and her reactions, because he's like, okay, if I've ordered this gigantic breakfast, she's probably going to sit here, pick up her phone, start texting her friends, updating her social media, eat a spoonful of air, nibble on the corner of a pineapple, and she's going to leave. And instead, she comes in and she starts spooning out food for him, and she sits down. "You want to bless the food?" And he's, "Go ahead." And she, "Thank you, Jesus." And she just inhaled 3 sausages.
Wow.
Just shoves a whole pancake in her mouth, and he's just kind of...
Wasn't expecting that.
He wasn't expecting her to, like, actually eat it. She's looking at the potatoes. "I'm going to save those for after." After what? You and me. And he doesn't even really know what to make of her,
Right.
And there's some things in there for it to be a novella. I've packed it in, and it's just, oh my gosh.
All right.
Yeah, and I'm gonna lay the romance a little thick on with this one, and I'm gonna.
I've always wanted to ask an author about this because you write mostly. Your books aren't hard copies per se. You've got some that are hard copies, but mostly you write for like Kindle e-reader style books. Am I not right? Okay.
I have the novels are hard copies.
Okay. So my question is, old school writing. I've gone to workshops. I've taken writing courses when I was in college. I was getting my degree in English Lit. And what I want to know is, as a published writer, I don't know what you studied per se in school, but for a person who wants to write, who's not educated in that area, what do you suggest they do as far as getting educated to write? Is there a...
Read.
Yeah.
There are Pulitzer Prize winning authors who have never walked into a college classroom.
Okay.
There are authors who have a master's degree in creative writing, that they believe that there's only one way to do anything and only one way to tell a story, whereas you'll have a whole chapter of describing of nothing but the wallpaper in a room. Who gives a flying fun? Well, you're going to get naked. Let me see something else, or they will take you through these depth of emotions of these characters and how blue she is and how empty her well of life is and the loss of her child. And you're like, oh my gosh, kill me already.
Right.
If you really want to write in a certain genre, go to your library, check out the masters in that genre, and read.
Okay, I like that.
Notice how they put together the sentences. Look at the cadence, look at the rhythm, look at the way that they tell the story. How do they unfold the story? Okay. I'm a classically trained writer, like I said, I'm a journalist by trade, and I'm going to say it out loud. I have an English minor in Arthurian legend. Leave me alone. I'm a nerd.
I ain't mad at you, girl.
I can tell you all about the Knights at the Round Table, and yes, I read Beowulf in Old English, okay? I'm the person that reads the Canterbury Tales and actually sit there and laugh, okay?
Right. I'm feeling you, yes.
Yeah. But when it comes to writing romance and writing a novel, who are you writing it for? And that's the thing, and you have to keep that in mind. So yeah, I do recommend that authors take workshops just to refresh their skill sets, but take the time and read, and find your rhythm, find your cadence.
I like that. Okay, so let's talk about publishers a little bit, literary agents, editors, that sort of thing. Are these something that people, you're shaking your head no? Tell me about your experience with...
No, because that is not my vein of expertise.
Okay.
So I cannot really offer any information.
Okay.
And I'm shaking my head no, because I really don't want to approach the subject, because I don't know enough about it to give any relevant or credible information. Okay.
So you've been successful just publishing your own stuff with Kindle and Amazon. So a person can go that route. They don't necessarily need to go the route of publisher, literary agent, or whatnot to be a successful writer.
In order to be successful, you have to have a grind, and you have to be on your grind every single day. You see me out there every day on social media interacting, because you have to. If that is not your area and you're not into marketing, I have a marketing background, because when I got tired of writing, I went back to grad school and got me a master's in business, and I have a doctorate in business, and I know marketing. So I know marketing. So when I'm looking at putting those packages together, I know exactly what I'm looking for. I know exactly what I'm doing. But if that's not your expertise, then yeah, maybe you should do at least 1 or 2 books with a publisher, so that you can learn the business and you can learn how it operates, versus you trying to do it all yourself and making a whole lot of mistakes.
Right. I myself spent probably a good 10 years learning the business by reading the business. There's so many publications in the library about writing and publishing and editors, and you, if you really want to, you can learn it on your own. You don't necessarily know.
Yeah.
Yeah. When it comes to the business of writing, there's just so much information out there and online. So yeah, that's one thing I myself personally like to encourage people is self-education, because not everyone has time to go back to school, or not everyone has the money to pay a literary agent or a publisher publishing company and whatnot. With a publishing company, you're not going to make any money. You're going to lose money on your first book. But your second book is when you're going to start making some money, if you get a second book. So yeah, I'm totally so in love with the company of Kindle and Amazon and what they've done for the writer, that we're able to get our stuff out like that, because of the avenues that they've put out for us. Great. So
I've seen some people who have publishing deals that they're not people friendly. And you see them at book signings and they're sitting at the table looking all crazy, and you're like, well, should I go up and talk to you? And when you go up and talk to them, they act like they're doing you a favor to have a conversation with you, and you're like, I've sold more books this morning before I even took a shower than you have sitting here at this table all day long. You just
right,
you get to the point you just want to duke it out with them. Come on, really?
Right.
Or you go to some of these conferences, these big conferences like Romance Writers of America, and they'll put the indie authors in a separate room, than the traditionally published authors.
Wow.
And they'll talk down like, well, we don't really want them mixing with us. And you've got indie authors in there that's making $100,000 every quarter, whereas these guys are barely making enough in sales to do anything.
Right.
And you're just like,
all they have is a name and really
keep
large.
you as a pet.
Yep. Let's transition now into a conversation about styles and formulas to write a book, and how to schedule time for writing a book, and what's the best way to get a book from beginning to end.
Okay.
There you've got your authors who, like me, I'm a big outline person. I gotta have an outline. I gotta outline not just the story, but each chapter, and I have a whole page of just the characters, and before I put this whole story together, I've written details, hoping.
Okay, and my question to you, how many of those have you finished?
Exactly. And that's the problem. Okay. I go through this whole process and nothing gets done.
Well, the problem is in your head, by the time you do all of that outlining, you do all of that character development, by the time you finished all of that, the story in your head is done.
Mm-hmm. And I'm bored with it. So
you've basically tricked yourself, and you've tricked your brain into the story being finished. So now you don't want to go back and write it. So what you do is chapter 1, boy meets girl. Chapter 2, smart ass comment. He watches her ass walk away. Chapter 3, run into each other again. They kiss. Chapter 4, she has an accident. He has to help her. Chapter 5, they run into each other again. And that's the kind of outlining that you do. You don't get into details. He's tall. He's got dark hair. He's got hazel eyes. She's petite with small waist, big boobs. Done.
Mm-hmm.
And then you give her some kind of weird trait. She's got an extra pinky toe. Bam. Yeah.
Okay.
And then you figure out somewhere in there, when does he find out about this extra pinky toe? And that way you're still discovering things about the character as you write.
Okay. I like that. So that's basically your formula for putting together a story. Like, you get an idea and then you just kind of like, almost like a storyboard where you just kind of give images of each chapter versus details. Yes. Okay. Yes. I like that because it's successful for you. So I have an example of, okay, this works for someone, so let me try it. Great.
And I will have the cover. I like to have my covers done before I start writing, because I'll go back to that cover and I'll see something on it. Okay, there's this horse, there's a fence. He's in the background versus in the foreground. They're in hold. Um, they're separated. So if they're separated, I got to make sure I build the connection between them. If they're in hold, they come out immediately with a connection.
And you showed me your book, your binder, your Bible of writing.
My Bible,
The Holy Grail. And it was amazing to me because it was so thick and it was so organized, and it kind of had like a little bit of everything, future ideas, present ideas, current projects, and I loved that. Let's talk a little bit about your process for your books and the actual business of writing.
when you get down to the business of writing, like right about now, the only things that I have a concrete schedule for are the release that comes out in March, which is usually a full-length novel, and it's usually a mail order bride.
Okay.
And then there is another mail order bride later in the summer, almost towards September.
Okay.
Blakemore's are July and December.
Okay.
Those are the only release dates I set. Other than that, you get it when you get it.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I used to have set release dates, and then I would find that I would release material before it was ready. And then I would start focusing on sales, and I would start focusing on numbers, and oh my gosh, I'm not going to have enough money this month, so I need to go ahead and release something real quick. And I don't want to do that. I want to make sure I'm giving you a good story, because if you're spending your money to read my stuff, I want to make sure I'm giving you something worth reading, because I've had some duds. A couple of duds.
Well, I'm glad I haven't gotten to those yet.
Well, and those duds are no longer for sale,
Okay. I'm liking that. It's like nobody needs to read the mistakes. Let's just get rid of those.
They're not bad stories. It's that when you start writing and readers expect a certain something from you, and they keep expecting you to stay within that. And a lot of authors give in to that pressure, and they stay within that. Kimberly Lawson Roby, the Reverend Curtis Black series. Nobody wants to read anything else that she writes other than Reverend Curtis Black. And it's like, okay, she's a very talented author. Give her an opportunity to expand her wings and to grow. If not, you find yourself falling into that vein. And that's what I love about the Mail Order Bride series, is that I don't have to stick to any formula.
Right.
Okay.
I like that. Yeah, that's true. Olivia, I so appreciate you taking your time out to talk with us here at Losing You, Gaining Yourself. It's been a pleasure listening to just how you got into writing, your ups and downs, and sharing with us your business, the business of writing.
And thank you very much, CC, for having me. One of the things that I definitely want to do in closing is for potential writers and women to understand that we all have our own personal journeys. And I was so busy teaching and running this rat race that I actually did lose myself, and I had to find out who I was and what I was about and what was important to me. And I actually gained myself through being able to tell all of these stories of these characters that were in my head, and how they also found themselves, because that Mail Order Bride series, you see those women really finding who they are meant to be.
Right.
Not because of some man, but because of a personal journey, and walking away and losing things that aren't really that important that they thought were important in their lives. So that's the art and the love of storytelling that I leave with you.
Well, thank you. That's wonderful. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening to Losing You, Gaining Yourself, and our interview with the Miss Olivia Gaines, author, teacher, marketer, and just extraordinary woman. She has, since I've met her, been an absolutely wonderful mentor to me, and I hope you got a chance to learn a thing or two from her. And do check out her books. On Amazon.com. That's Olivia Gaines, Gaines, and start reading her because she's awesome. She's funny, and I can't say enough about her talents. So this is the end of today's episode. Please leave your thoughts in the comments section. If you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. Like this audio podcast. And until next time, keep smiling.